10 mil. Hello, what's going on? Alan here, and you're watching the Gibson Garage YouTube channel. Now, if you've been following along, you'll know that I got the Chrysler 300, my son's first car. I got it running. It started up with a little bit of messing with the gas pedal, waking up the throttle body. It finally fired off, and I turned it off and fired up a few times. It fires right up now, no big deal, except for I think there's at least one dead cylinder over here. Now, while it was running, I was pulling these 3 coils and this 4th coil here, and I noticed a change in all 4. So it's nothing to do with those 4 cylinders. It's one of these 2 back here. So we got to take the intake manifold off again, which means undoing these braces, 10 millimeters, 15 millimeters, 2 10s, 3 hoses, a couple electrical connectors. We'll get that off so we can look at those 2 cylinders, and I'll take a look at the spark plugs and see if I can notice if either one of them has been firing or not. Alright, I've got the intake manifold off, and I've got this hooked up to the middle cylinder on this side. Let's see if it'll even let me crank it with everything disconnected. Well, that one's 151, so I mean, I'm okay with 2 difference. Guess we might as well check the other side for shits and giggles. That one's a little low, so that only got me to 35 instead of 45. I guess they were 45. 45, 145, 145, 155, 135. Let me do this one again. Yikes. Okay, so that's low, but we know that one was firing. 145. Okay. That one's 155. Okay. Well, 135 compared to those 2 being 155 is kind of a big difference, but I mean, I think that's within 20% for sure. Technically, it's within 20%. Here's what I was looking at, these spark plugs on the passenger bank. This middle one looks like it wasn't firing as well as these outer ones. What I'm gonna do is I'm still going to take off this with these. I'm going to take off all these bolts. You don't want to loosen just the 4 that are holding down the fuel rail. You want to loosen them all, and then you're going to have to retorque them all. But then I'm going to take these injectors off, and I guess I'll backflush them, and then we'll put everything back together. Okay, this is how I backflush it. Usually this valve stem will stick on here better, but I'm gonna have to hold it in this case, and then let's see, we'll hook up the negative to 1. I'm gonna press it with my knee. And there we go. That's how you clean it. Get brake fluid all down your leg and everything. I'm also switching everything from this side of the motor over to that side of the motor. Injectors, plugs, and coils. That way we can also just try to get some idea too if it keeps missing because of one of these 3 problems. It'll be on this side now and not on that side. Alright, it's back together. I added some oil, and let's give it a shot. You know what I do want to do is hook up my machine, see if we can get an oil pressure reading. Hang on, I'll be right back before I crank it. Okay, well there's no oil pressure anywhere on here, interestingly enough. So we'll just see what it says. There we go. Oh, sound went away. Clogged fuel injector. Still sounds a little ticky. That might go away after we drive it. I got some Berryman's or Seafoam. I'll try to spray in there too and see if we can clean it. It didn't look really dirty. The intake runners weren't really dirty actually, so I mean, but we'll see. Maybe it's just fuel injectors, or maybe I should just dump it in the fuel tank. So looking at this, long term, 0, I got no long term, I guess. Short term. Engine RPM's kind of all over the place, but it's settling. It's got a tick. It's got a bit of a tick. I think we got oil pressure because we heard the valve train noise and then we heard it go away. Crankshaft position sensor. Pretty sure I hooked that up. Crankshaft, manifold, absolute pressure sensor, circuit high, map sensor, stored DTCs, pending, crankshaft, huh? This all could be from when when the timing belt broke. I'm gonna let it run for a little bit and get up to temperature, and then I'll be back with you guys. Okay, so it's got an intake leak. It's still a little, not as bad. Actually, I think most of the major clacking went away. I can just hear the injectors ticking. But now I can hear like a and I've been spraying, this is brake clean. I'm spraying in the holes. And I think it's coming from in between this, you know, in between whatever this is in the intake, or down there, possibly. It's hard to say, but I spray it right here and it dies, literally. We'll see. Now it doesn't want to do it. But I can hear it. And it's kind of stumbly, so I'm gonna take these off, or at least this one. It's either leaking from this or from the main gasket, but I don't think it's leaking from the main gasket. Or this thing is cracked. It's got a crack maybe. That'd suck. Well, these O-rings don't look the best. They are sitting under kind of loose. And, well, this one actually sits around there a little tighter. The inside of here was just completely gummed up. This almost actually fell out. this one seems to sit in tight, but the O-ring is loose around this thing. So I don't know. I'm gonna replace both of them, stick it back together, and we'll see if that gets rid of the. So the dealership has actually discontinued these, but I managed to find some at Ace Hardware. They feel like they're just perfect size, so I'll go ahead and pop these back in, see if we still hear the whooshing. Okay, well, it's still running all right, and it wasn't running the best at first. Well, it was just running rough, and it didn't really happen the first time I fired it up, but it started happening now. After the second time now that I've done these actuator O-rings, but it was just running rough and taking forever to cranks, and it's got the check engine light on again. So I hook up the machine to it here. Okay, so I'm editing, and I realized I totally didn't talk about why it was running so good in that last clip there. The engine didn't even sound like it was running, but you saw in one of the prior clips that it had a crankshaft position sensor code, and it was that. I just wanted to check it, troubleshoot some stuff to see if it really was a problem, and it turned out that was the problem. It ran way smoother. What I did was I took the camshaft sensor from one of the motors. Basically, I had two camshaft sensors because I had two motors, and I just took one and put it in the crankshaft position sensor position spot, and it cleared right up instantly. And I did double check too, they are the same part number for both positions, cam and crank. So, and they both have the factory part number on them, and the part that failed on the crankshaft part that failed on this was not an original Dodge part. And also stay tuned, because I did buy a smoke machine. I'm going to hook up that to this thing to make sure there's no more intake leaks on this. We're gonna go network scan so we can see all the modules. It does take longer because it scans everything, whereas the global OBD just does like powertrain, immediate check engine light. Okay, so it says we have 7 failed modules. Most of them I can explain. The TPMSs are inaccurate. I've checked these with my tire checker gauge thingy. Forgot what. We get the tire light blinking because it's warning me of this low situation, but I think it just needs to be recalibrated. There's a wireless tool, and you just walk up to your tire, calibrate it, and yeah, I don't know. So that'll probably fix that once, if I can find a place to do that. This machine does not. Oil level's good. Past modules 12, 14 volts almost, 7 failed. Let's take a look at those. Primary DTC, no. We got a yellow light, so there's no check engine lights, is what that means. These codes, and see, we still need to run these 3 monitors, still need to get cleared also. I have to, still haven't even driven it that far. In fact, I have driven it 9.5 miles. So we got a transmission control module code. So temperature sensors intermittent. So we'll have to check that out, because I already cleared everything once, and these are the ones that came back. So we'll put that away. Electronic overhead module. This has got something to do with the, what is lost communication with the occupant restraint controller? Don't know what that means. Occupant restraint controller. There, I did have to plug in a plug that was under the seat. I did have to plug it back in because it was putting a red light on the dash here of a little guy in a seat with a red airbag in front of him. And this light was on, which it should be on now, I believe. That's normal now because no one's sitting in it. And maybe if someone sat in it, the light, I think, is supposed to go off. But this, well, there's a light here, so I was fishing around under there and found out there was just a plug undone. So I plugged it back in, and I think it was because someone was in here already. This carpet's misaligned here and down there, and maybe, I don't know why they would have been down there, but, or under the carpet, maybe for a stereo system at some point, most likely, because it was a younger guy. Maybe it didn't even have anything to do with him. This thing does have 250,000 miles, so almost. But anyways, I found the plug, plugged it in, red light turned off. Front control module. Horn circuit, yes. There are a couple things. Something to do with the horn and possibly the turn signal canceling. The turn signals do not cancel when I come out of a turn, they keep going. And also, no horn. Climate control. Recirculation door travel range too large. Now it doesn't change to the feet, I've noticed. I think there's a bad actuator. Occupant classification module. Lost communication with sunroof control module. Audio system. DVD read error. There was like a notice saying something. I just kind of cleared it. But it could be that it needs the disc, the navigation disc, or it could be that the disc reader doesn't work anymore. Wireless control module, and then we've got the tire pressure sensors. So that's the failed modules on this car. I still got to get the 3 monitors to pass. I've got to do some freeway driving basically for those, it says. And drive it for 10 minutes, turn it off for 10 minutes, drive it for 2 minutes. I mean, it's silly. But we've got good temperature, we got system okay. If we can, oh, that's radio. What do we, there we go, it says driver door open. System okay. 243. Whoa, can you guys even see that? Doing the LED flicker. I did a little bit of vacuuming on the floors just to get not looking so bad. Found a couple golf tees. This is Steelers. It's funny. I'm gonna give it a bath. Get all this bird crap off of there. Well, there it is, all washed up. A sparkling beauty. Looking pretty good. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, subscribe, tell me what you think about the video, and I'll see you next time.